Hi, I'm Blandon Ray, and another question that I think non-monogamous people get asked frequently, or two questions, so to speak, are what are the best thing and the worst thing about being in a polyamorous relationship? Well, for me, I think the best thing is not the most obvious thing, but one of the most obvious ones, which is just the fact that you have more of an emotional support structure, for lack of a better way of putting that. That, whether things are good or bad or complicated or however things are going for us in our lives, both I and my other partners have not just another person to lean on, but more than one other person. And maybe a good way to put that would be, I've talked to a number of monogamous couples who have rules or agreements with each other where they say things like, well, we're not allowed to both be angry at the same time. And on paper, that sounds like a great idea. And I think, my wife and I had similar agreements at one point in our marriage. But the fact of the matter is, it happens. Sometimes both people are having a bad day at the same time, and that can get really tough. And um, I think an important aspect of that is, knowing that because you want to be either by yourself or you want to be off doing something not with your partner or any one of your partners isn't some kind of automatic reflection on the state of that relationship. I think polyamory or non monogamy works pretty well for people that are basically kind of independent and that they have a life of their own, emotionally speaking, and they often want to either spend time by themselves or spend time doing things that aren't, directly with any of their partners. So I think another great thing about being poly is just the fact that, it's like having it's a little bit like an extended family in some ways. Not, obviously, not in the sense that everybody's related to each other, but in the sense that there's a sort of a bigger group of people who are closer to you than even just close friends. And there's a lot to be said for the idea of having, you know, basically an extended family to share your life with and to share the ups and downs with. Um, and as far as the whole independence aspect of it, personally, I think that trying to be everything to any one person emotionally is kind of a big burden to bear. Like I'm not sure I could be everything to anyone in the sense that the sort of normal fairy tale model of relationships tells you you're supposed to be. And I'm not sure that anybody else can meet all my emotional needs either. So there's a certain sort of freedom that comes with that, I think. But that segues into what the worst things might be, because in a weird way, that aspect of freedom, which is also one of the better things, can be one of the worst things in its own way. Because there are times when, there have been times for me when, knowing that you're not the only partner of most of your other relationships. I mean, I'm sure this isn't true for everybody, but for me, the people that I'm in relationships with are usually also polyamorous, um, which means that, they're not my everything emotionally and I'm not theirs. And there are times when, a sort of creeping kind of loneliness sets in with that, where you realize that you're not necessarily the most important thing in anybody's life. But, and this is, I think, a really important thing to draw attention to, because it, if you don't have that kind of emotional resilience and, faith in your partners, I don't necessarily want to use the word faith, but I can't think of a better one. Um, that that they're with you because they want to be with you and not just because they have to be with somebody. Um, Trying to be in polyamorous relationships will really show you in a hurry whether you've got that or not, and or it'll teach you, hopefully, or give you the opportunity to learn for yourself the skills and the emotional mechanisms that you probably need to develop that kind of you know emotional steadiness that you need to make it work. So I guess in a nutshell, those are sort of the best things and the worst things. Well, there's one other worst thing that I should probably mention, which is that time is a factor. You can't you just don't have an infinite amount of time to spend with anybody, and so a friend of mine once made the joke, which was only half joking, that the mating call of the polyamorous person is everyone get out your calendars, and there's a lot of truth to that. Managing time is definitely an issue, and it's a skill just like anything else. Nobody's born learning to do that or knowing how to do it, but it's a skill that you have to develop and learn to manage. So um, those are, to me, the best things and the worst things about being non-monogamous, and hopefully that was insightful and interesting, and thank you for watching.